Countdown. It's gonna be
Oh, here we
great.
go. Three, two.
And welcome to 2022. As the ball has just dropped. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not. Was the guy like Dick Carson's New Year's Eve? I don't know. I don't
Dick
pay
Carson
attention.
on New Year's Eve.
That's what I said. So I don't know the guy's name. I know he's like retired or something, and he did like all these friggin' New Year's Eve specials where everyone like, kind of surrounds themselves in Times Square and they all wait for the midnight ball to drop, and they all I don't know. There's like celebrities that like and musicians that perform during that New Year's Eve party. I don't know.
I was just watching
Any
How I Met Your Mother like last night actually, and they like cover an episode where it's like the three things you don't want to do in New York on New Year's
Right.
Eve, and it was like be in Times Square on New Year's Eve for the ball drop. Like, but I want to go.
Yeah, you have a better chance of being stabbed there than probably anywhere in the goddamn world.
That's actually
Because you
exactly what I wanted out of my life. Thank you so much. That will be my peak is getting stabbed in Times Square.
on New Year's Eve waiting for the ball to drop, way too
Yeet
drunk
yeet.
to
Welcome the
be.
new year.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. So for all of those people just clicking their buttons on all their like buttons, because obviously you love the B shows, you're all gonna be clicking your likes and your subscribes. We're joined by my friend Theo. Theo and I go back as far as December 2019, and that was when I worked for a company called TNI, and we what what would you describe the job as to someone who's literally has no idea about door to door, interactions or things like that?
The urge to say we sell kids was like very strong. But basically we work for charities. We just do fundraising door to door. It's like a monthly subscription type of thing, and get people donating to some of the most amazing causes in Canada and the United States. So
Yeah, yeah, like literally, like I can't think of better work to do. Like just as a person, I just didn't found the magic touch to to drop some kids at a door, find that right person. Or I did find the right people, and then I found that the people didn't have their parents because their credit cards were all in their parents' names, like that magical night. It was like,
those
oh my
those damn
gosh.
kids who just like who so want to help out but are just broke as shit, and you're just like, ah man.
Yeah, and then they were on to see like a Rich the Kid concert that night, and they were just like really like wanting to speed the process up. Like, okay, can I just like
I remember that night. I totally forgot about that. Yeah, there was like, was it three friends or was it three
they
sisters
were
who were like
sisters.
their
Yeah,
gigantic house, like gigantic, invited us
their parents
inside.
must be loaded. Like, I don't
Oh my
understand. Like, they
gosh,
had credit cards each of them, but they were all under like their dad's name because yeah, it was just
makes
it
sense.
was crazy. Oh, here it comes. The throats clicking in. For all those who watch the episodes, I have a new drink every episode. Today's
A new
episode,
drink,
yeah, I test new drinks out. I have Snapple Spiked most of the time, but this one is a strawberry kiwi tea with vodka.
Snapple spiked.
Yes,
That
it's
that
spiked
bugs
with
me so much. That bugs me so much, and the reason for that is because I've always thought of Snapple as like a kid's drink, right? So like it's just weird to me that Snapple is like here's our alcohol flavored drink. Because I'm a vapor, and like right now in Canada, they're trying to like introduce a ton of regulations on the vaping flavors in Canada
yes.
because they're scared of it being marketed to kids. And I'm like, well, like Snapple spiked drink, like isn't that also marketed to
Yeah.
kids? Like, ugh, Sylvie.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't found this in like a grocery store yet, but like this was Sobeys liquor, so like it's literally the next step after like a grocery liquor store would be literally the grocery store. And I think
Oh my god.
as Canadians, I think that's the only thing we can do now. We could just be on par with the states and have convenience stores and grocery stores have their liquor department within the same building.
I'm just so
And
excited for the day that Walmart just has an entire aisle of beer right beside the
yeah,
aisle of Huggies and Pampers diapers. That's gonna be like my favorite thing.
yeah, because why wouldn't you want to quickly grab your beer, go home, create a child, and then every week it's just beer, diapers. Sorry, I text my girlfriend here. I can't remember what we needed. Oh, that's right, beer and diapers. Because once I changed the kid after them been screaming from diarrhea, I need to just down a 6 pack.
This is how I solve my depression. Clink.
Crack open a cold one with my 6-month-year-old.
Oh my god, that's so
It
funny.
went through. Yeah,
I
it
was
went
just gonna
through the.
say,
Yeah,
I'm
say
currently on a
it.
trip to like Fort McMurray right now in Alberta, and like one of my buddies was like, "Yeah, guys, we got to try and get beer today," and I'm like, "It's Fort McMurray in Alberta, guys. Everyone's an alcoholic. Like, this is the easiest thing to do, man."
You could go into your neighbor's house and be like, "Hey, I got $70. How much for some beer?" And they will probably give you beer, and they will probably take your money, like willingly, and you will get beer. You don't
Yeah,
even need to go to a store.
it's wild to me. Last night it was like 1:30 or something like that, and all their liquor stores are closed. And Buddy found like this Google website where you could just like it was like skip the dishes for alcohol, except it's like a private company,
Or are you talking
and
about
they just
designated delivery?
something like that. I don't even
Yeah.
know what it was called, but he basically just got it delivered to the hotel room when every liquor store is closed. These guys just have a stockpile of it. Like, yeah, we'll deliver you 2 6 of rum. Sure, why not?
Oh, that's fantastic. You definitely should get on this spiked Snapple because you think it's just like an iced tea, but then you get that nice vodka kick at the end. And
You
with the
said it's strawberry
kiwi,
kiwi, right?
yeah.
Oh, that's like my favorite. Yeah,
Oh, like it just feels like I'm drinking a cocktail on the beach right now. Like that's what I love. I love
that's
that.
perfect. Yeah, speaking of that, I'm drinking Breezer pina coladas. This has been my drink of choice for the last like 3 weeks. They are so delicious.
Fab. I love me a breezer. Love
Yeah,
me a breezer. Love me a
I
Palm Bay.
I couldn't find them for like the longest time, and then all of a sudden they just started popping up in liquor stores again. I think it was like in Sylvan Lake like a month ago when I found them, and then I was like, okay, sure, why not? And then I've found them at every other liquor store since. So
I'm just waiting for the day where all like cooler drinks or like spiked juice drinks or things like that, they all just revert to a can. I don't like these bottle things. I love me a can drink. I
yeah,
don't
that's
know
true.
about the experience. It just drinking it feels better. And then obviously you just get that nice cracking sound and it just draws everybody to you for a second. Everyone hears that crack. They're just like deer in headlights, like, what's that? And then, especially on a show like this where I want everyone, eyes on me kind of thing, you crack that drink open and then boom, everyone's paying attention now. And I love that. And then
I
when I take that first sip, just ecstasy. What were you going to say?
I just want to know why the crinkling of a can is such a satisfying sound. Like, what in our psychology or just our brain just makes the crinkling of someone drinking from like a can so satisfying?
I couldn't tell you. I mean, like, I'm sure some psychologists or psychiatrists could, or neurologists actually would probably be the better one because they study, like, the brain itself, not just, how people are doing. They probably could tell you. They could probably tell you exactly, like, what what part of the brain is triggered and then what it does from that point. Now that you've been triggered, what does it do to the rest of the body? And I don't know what it is, but I feel like it has something, to do with just I don't know, but I love it. I love it, and I'm never going to stop cracking a drink open on my show.
Like, this is the reason why we made the entire show, man. Like, it wasn't for any other reason other than so I could crack a drink. That's it.
I mean, what am I supposed to do? Just sit at home, stare at the wall, crack a drink open for nobody?
Well, I
No,
mean, it
I
is
want to make
COVID.
sure.
That's what like 80% of us are doing anyway.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I could do that. And do this show. I mean, like, I'm going to be doing it anyway. I might as well make sure one of the times I'm doing it for my show, and then everybody, like millions of people, can hear me crack that drink. at any time they want. They can click it on, they can move to that part, they can hear that satisfying click, and they can be like, oh, perfect. And some people will literally mess themselves for it. Some of them will just be like, oh, it's like a spa day, you know? Whatever it makes you feel, I love it.
Oh my God. Um,
All
a,
right, so
a drink a day keeps the doctor away. That's a rule I live by. I'm not an
fabulous.
alcoholic. Yeah, I'm not an alcoholic. Alcoholics drink every day. I drink every night, okay? There's a difference.
That's true. Yeah, yeah. It's not that I need a drink every day, but since I've got them, I might as well, right?
I mean, I don't need one, but it sure helps.
It's literally not going to help me, but it's not going to not help me or something. Ah, let's just drink anyway, you know. Um,
You know what? Cheers to that, man. Cheers to that.
boom, boomsies.
Ah, oh my God.
Mm. Let's start with how your week's been, and maybe just for our audience, just talk a little bit about yourself.
Oh my God, that's a loaded question. Um, my 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 week's been good, kind of. I'm currently in Fort McMurray for work. The last few months have just been really crazy with COVID and with the numbers going up. I'm like a little bit nervous about getting laid off again, if I'm honest. But we'll sort of see how the next couple of weeks go. I'm not a huge fan of how Jason Kenney has approached the pandemic in Alberta, and we're kind of watching these numbers go increase, and we're sort of hitting the point that we were in like December when they were like, okay, shut down again. So
Yeah,
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm really grateful for the last like 3 months. I've made the most amount of money that I've ever made before in my life, and I've gotten a lot of donations to charity, a lot of kids helped, and you know, I'm just like I'm so grateful to like be working full time in a pandemic. I just like I have such an understanding of how hard things are for so many families because you know I'm just talking to people all day, so I'm just very thankful for that. And COVID has done a very interesting thing for the door to door market because especially with charities, the people who really can't help out like are pushed even further along the spectrum of like, look, I really can't help out. And then people who like the COVID hasn't necessarily affected them, like they've managed to stay working. Excuse me, they've been able to like you know keep themselves afloat essentially are like really over the edge on like the whole look man, I really want to help out, like I things have been good for me, I want to make sure I can give back in some sort of way. So it's been really interesting, and I'm also at the point where I'm building a team now, and I sort of took a different position with our head office just to explain where I'm sort of this improvement trainer where I travel around to different offices. With the restrictions, I've mostly just been landlocked to Alberta, so going to Edmonton and Calgary. But essentially, I'm just helping other people train their guys. And then I got this friend who was like, "Hey, I want a job with you." So she came in, and then she added two more friends, and then all of a sudden they started doing really well. And then I'm like, "Hey, this is a team," and I'm about to like take over as like an acting manager in Edmonton again within like the next 2 weeks, which I'm like really excited for and really happy with. But um, yeah, I'm sort of blabbing a little bit, but like the last 3 months have just been like really crazy in like a really good way. And I'm just like I'm just filled with so much gratitude for just sort of where I'm at and in my own growth, and just sort of where I'm at in a financial and a family and a career place as well. So
I wouldn't say you have to apologize for that because literally this show is literally about talking to people. It's about chatting, finding out where people are at, you know, what kind of things they want to discuss, you know, because they can't really discuss it with, you know, the people around them, or whether or not they can't discuss because they don't have people around them, you know, all these kinds of things. Like, I guess other than, you know, cracking open a bevy on the show, one of the reasons is that I wanted to do this is because 2020 I had no one to talk to. Like it was literally the most isolated I've ever been, and that's on top of the fact that I hang out in my room most of the time in my spare time. You know,
oh,
I
that's so
literally
rough.
isolate purposely, but like at the same time, the idea that I could go out at any moment and not worry about, a virus. That is just such an appealing thing to me. And then because 2020 prevented us from having that, you know, I want to make sure 2021 there would be lots of opportunities for me to still be social with people, but from my house. And, you know, and making sure that I call people up, here and there. I mean, that's great, but it doesn't really give other people who may not have these, people to call up the opportunity to still be social with people. I want to make my listeners
Yeah.
and my viewers feel like you and I are their friends, that we're hanging out with them. We're just relatable people talking, drinking, normal kind of hangouts, and they can feel like they're a part of it too. So, yeah, go for it. You can talk about, anything you want, and, I'm all here for that kind of a thing.
Yeah, of course. Well, I just wanted to add to that as well. Like, I think mental health has been like such a huge factor of COVID, especially with the pandemic and just the lockdowns and stuff. Like, I know last March, it was my first time ever getting laid off since I had started working since I was 18. And it was just this weird, like, I'm a workaholic type person. Like, I will work 12-hour days for months on end without a day off. Like, I have no problem doing that. And it was just like such a weird thing even for me to just be like, I'm waking up every day and I have nothing to do. Like, I have nowhere to go. I have no one to talk to. I'm used to doing door to door and talking to people every single day. And it was just such a weird thing. Like, it got to one point where myself and one of my best friends, who's also a manager at my company in Victoria, BC, actually, we got together like a group of six of us and started doing like a D&D campaign where we'd like meet up every Tuesday and start like playing D&D for like 6 or 8 hours, like over Roll20 and Skype, essentially. Just something to give us something to look forward to, right? And I feel like a lot of people don't really have that in their lives. They don't really have something that they're looking forward to on a weekly basis, and especially with mental health, like sometimes it's just really hard reaching out to other people and being like, hey man, I'm really struggling right now, and I'm like feeling incredibly antisocial, but equally I need socialization. What the fuck do I do?
Yeah, no, for sure. And just because there's been so much negativity poured into the world from the pandemic, from
Yeah.
the racism that is happening both here in Canada, but also specifically in the States. All this kind of negativity that the media, spreads on the situations. There's just a lot of factors that create this really bad kind of vibe in literally every single person, and it just causes these bad mental health that everyone feels in some way. Even people who say that the healthiest mental state they ever, you know after a year like that, there's no way you can say that you haven't been affected in some way. And
Yeah, of course. Well,
2021 for me, yeah, sorry.
no, I'm so sorry. I keep going to interject.
No, it's
Normally,
all
I'm a
good.
really good listener. I promise. I promise. I just wanted to say I think sort of what you're saying is like nailing it on the head of just like there was so much that happened in such a short span of time, and like I feel like everyone is like on somewhere on the spectrum of being an empath, unless you're a sociopath and you don't feel emotions at all. But everyone is somewhere on the spectrum, and I think we as like a civilization, we're just like so overwhelmed, and like that's especially a huge factor. Like there was probably a couple weeks there where I was like, dude, I can't be on social media right now. Like these protests are going on. People are dying in the streets, and this is so overwhelming for me. Like my mental health is starting to be affected because it's obviously stuff I'm very passionate about, and like I was getting into arguments with friends and family because I was sharing about the protests going on and being like look guys, this is a real issue. So like for everyone, it's just like it's so overwhelming, especially when you're really empathetic and you feel other people's emotions very strongly too.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. Yeah, I was just gonna say, so something like this, like something where because obviously 2021, I've become, I guess, aware of how negative I felt, how depressed I was, and things like that. And I literally just, I don't know whether it was a choice I made subconsciously or whether, some, I just was suddenly filled with a whole bunch of good vibes and thing. But I have a new positive mindset, and then it's like, okay, well, this is great, Now I've got all this motivation. Now I've got to do things. So what did I do? I started a podcast. I, applied to fashion design school, got in. I have all this energy, but now I have nowhere to put it now. So now the show is my outlet for it, so that every week, what's been growing inside me, this huge happiness, this huge positivity, I can give that out to people. I can send that back into the world where it belongs, kind of thing. Because, what's good if the world's depressed but one person is happy, that kind of thing. You
Yeah.
need everyone to be kind of on similar ground, both having being a balance kind of thing, where you have your bad days, you have your good days, but if someone's having a lot of good days, something needs to be done about that, kind of thing. Because I like the idea of people around me, feeling good. I don't know if I was that way before, like, especially when we worked together. I mean, I tried to be, as bubbly as I could be. I mean, I was shy and stuff, but
Oh, you were one of my like favorite human beings that I met in Saskatoon. Like just to share a little bit. I think I mentioned that I came out last year, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
as
Okay.
gender fluid. Yeah,
Not gender fluid, but I'm bisexual, and I don't know. I
bisexual.
kind of view everything as a spectrum. So like some days I
Okay,
feel super feminine, other days super masculine. It goes back and forth.
okay,
But what was really cool for me, is I was going through this process of self acceptance since I was 18. I was raised in a household with a really homophobic, racist Christian father. So I was having to go through my own self acceptance and sort of set my own homophobia to the side. And like I remember meeting you, and I even just remember the first interview with you. And I've obviously had like gay friends and stuff like that in the past, and the one thing that always came out to me is like these people come across so authentic in a way that I idolized in some way. Like these people had accepted a part of themselves, that I was well, I probably didn't realize that this at the time, but I was struggling to accept about myself. So for me, like meeting you and getting to spend so much time with you was like so inspiring, and just your personality in general is just phenomenal. Like I don't know, like we've been messaging back and forth for 2 years now, and we haven't worked together in 2 years.
yeah,
So for me, it was really cool because I sort of look at you as like one of those stepping stones of inspiration for me to like I think it would have been a year and a half later, something like that, where I was finally able to come forward and be like, oh shit, like this is who I am as a person. Maybe I should actually accept this and stop hating myself a little bit.
yeah. No, that's it. It definitely takes time, and I didn't know it either. I think I shared a bit of it, like in high school, obviously being, male identified and things like that, but also still having this what I perceived as pansexuality, and then, and that becoming more refined and stuff. That, yeah, while you find guys attractive, whether or not you pursue guys, okay, then I refined it even more, and then obviously, uh, I guess leading up to 2019, leading up to the moment where I realized all these big things about myself. I realized that what I was before was completely not accurate.
Yeah,
And then realizing you're a trans woman, well, you're a woman, but now you have this extra word attached to it just to help people, because it's not even really for me. When I think of myself, I don't literally identify as a trans woman. It's literally just I identify as a woman.
yeah,
But
100%.
yeah, but for other people, sometimes it makes it harder to understand because they will see the outside and they need that extra label just to get to that acceptance stage. And then I don't know, whether or not that's just it comes from a place of maybe discrimination or maybe a bit of fear, but sometimes that extra label, it helps smooth things along. Maybe that's not a good thing. Maybe people need to get to the point where it's just like, how do you identify, okay, you use these pronouns, and then just go from there. Like, you don't need
Yeah.
these extra labels or things like that. When people ask you who you're dating, they don't expect a gender right away. They just ask for, a person's name or, how they
Mm.
identify. That's all they need. But right now, everyone's so concerned about labeling and these, little boxes they want to put you in, kind of thing, because they like the box.
I
The
oh I
box
really
is,
respect that. I really respect that phrase. That's something that I've really struggled with, and I've always wanted to be careful with because I sort of view it like mental health, and it's a sensitive subject, but like for me, I labeled myself as depressed and socially anxious, and unfortunately, because of those labels, all of a sudden I started growing these entitlements about myself because I was like. It's like limiting entitlements of like, oh, I can only be this way, I can only be this way, I can only be this way, and this is sort of what I was telling you, where like I came to understand my own sexuality and my own identity as like very like life doesn't need to be black or white. It can be a full gray area of spectrum where like some days I wake up and I really like men and I feel super fucking feminine and like I want to do my makeup, I want to get my fucking nails done, like everything. There's other days where I wake up and I just feel like one of the bros and I'm just like I feel super masculine today, very into females. Like, like it's allowed to go back and forth. And that was one thing that I wanted to be very careful of, especially with learning how to accept and understand myself a bit better, is like, I don't want to limit myself to just one side of things or the other side of things. Like, I want to be able to go back and forth and just be whoever I want to be and accept myself for whoever I am that day, in the moment, that morning, like whatever it may be. So it's something that I've heard from like a lot of friends as well. It's just the box can be very limiting sometimes, and it's not something that I think everyone understands or appreciates. But like for me, I'm just very much like accept yourself as soon as you can, and work on anything that's blocking that, and work on anything that's limiting that. So
no, that's well put. Because that's one thing that I always wanted for the show too. Is there's no boxes. Every time you go to publish an episode or you try to publish a podcast, they always ask you to put it, categorize what your show is.
mhm.
And my show never fits any of the boxes. I mean, I guess the closest one it fits is comedy interviews, but like, that's to say that I'm funny right off the start, and that's to say that I'm always going to be interviewing people, and what this isn't really an interview. It's really just a conversation, and you think, okay, well, maybe I can just put lifestyle, but then you look at the lifestyle podcasts that are out there, and they're all about like, specifically wellness or you know I don't know, just how to live your life in different ways and things like that. So it's not quite in that direction either. So there's no real box for my show. And then once you figure that out, there's no box for your show, then you're just like, okay, well, then nothing about my show can be categorized. Nothing can be this way or that way. Every episode's going to have its own uniqueness.
You're drawing a great analogy to what we were just talking about, which I love.
Well, I mean, sometimes you need to repeat yourself and sometimes you need to go in circles, or sometimes you don't, but you do it anyway, in my case, where I'll just helicopter for a while and say the same thing over and over, and I won't ever
It's
land.
fine. It's fine. Just be like NASCAR. Left and left and left and
Left.
left. I can just be like NASCAR. You'll be great.
Yeah. NASCAR, my politics, it's just left. Cruise all the way left. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's really well put. And yeah, so my journey through sexuality, through gender identity, it's been quite in flux. Because even after I came out as a trans woman, I still kind of thought that I was bi or pansexual, that I
Damn.
like people regardless. But then after a while, I just got to the point where I was just like, no, I don't think my I think, my love for women just prevailed all the way through, but, you know, I just started seeing that men weren't going to be, a good life partner for me. And then finally I refined myself to, oh shit, I'm a lesbian because I'm a woman. And then I just
Damn.
realized, oh, it's another label now. But like, I see myself, having a wife, and raising kids with, a woman kind of thing, and
Mm.
all these kind of things. So yeah, it's definitely a journey. It takes time to realize that. And then, and you think the journey stopped after that? No. Literally months later, like into 2020 actually, I end up meeting someone online. I knew she was real because we video chatted many times, and
You're positive it wasn't a catfish. You're positive.
literally like a million percent.
Technology and face swapping is great these days, so you got to be careful.
Yeah, no, and yeah, no, it was no catfish. I kind of wish it was a catfish because of the pain that came from that. Because I fell hard for this person, they fell way too hard for me, which was, I think that should have been a red flag right at the start, just because of my traumatic ass. Can't accept romance. When I see it, when it looks me dead in the eye, I'm just like, bitch, you lied. Like, you know, that kind of thing. And no, apparently we were really in love for a while, and then I got the big question asked to me, and should have said no. Should have said no, because then it was just a lot of stuff, and then months later it was called off. Because 2020 didn't have enough problems to give me. I had to throw in a rejected proposal, and then then being dumped after that. That was, yeah. I didn't even
Rough.
get a
I'm so
ring. I
sorry.
should have gotten a ring. I feel like for that much pain, I should have even had like a little bit of bling happening, but
They didn't even Beyonce you? Damn.
no. Yeah, they left me a single lady. That's for damn sure.
You Beyonce'd yourself though, and that's what's important.
Yeah. So so after that, then I realized that from that experience that I sex isn't something I can see happening in my life anymore. And I always kind of held this thing where it's like, I'll just be celibate until I get my bottom surgery. But then now that happened, I realized, oh shit, no, I just I don't want to engage in that. I feel like there's more important things in a relationship than just you know banging each other. And
Yeah, of course.
I'm
Well,
sure I'm very bangable, but I just don't think I just don't think that's necessarily needed. Like, maybe I could
that,
go unbanged.
that's how we all feel when we conquer the self doubt in the mirror every morning. We're all like, "I'm super bangable, I swear."
Right? Yeah. But yeah, I don't know necessarily that I need to go banged in every relationship. I think the banging can just be left out of it. I think getting to know the person and being there for them on a deeper level than that is what's important. And because just because of how I noticed that sex can get in the way of a lot of stuff, especially
Yeah.
and not to say that it can't happen, and that it doesn't add a level of intimacy to the relationship. I feel like it does for other people, just not for me. And so that's something else. And yesterday was, um, I don't even know what they call it. It was something to do with like International Being Asexual Day, and I'm paraphrasing, of course. It's probably like a fancy name for it. But that was the first day I could actually celebrate, because previous year I couldn't celebrate because I wasn't asexual. But this year, that title fits me. I see that as myself, and I think it's wonderful. I think I made it.
Oh no.
I think now I don't have any more layers to get past. The onion or the ogre has gotten right to the core. We've bypassed all the layers. Now you see me as I am, for good. but maybe that's not for everybody. Maybe everyone still has some evolving to do, and a few more layers to strip off. I don't know. I don't know. Want to get into a game, or I do my game segment sometimes with guests. And my game segment, I'd either, give a person a hypothetical situation where they have to come up with a good reason to, contribute to that hypothetical or not contribute to it. And then sometimes we play a little game of Catchphrase, but the adult style, where it's dirty and has a lot of sexual jokes to it and all kinds of stuff. Oh. It's a little quiet. I wonder if I'm on my own now. That would be a good question. Alright, so I'm not really sure what's going on. I might have to clip this part off the show. But nope. Problem. No problem. I'll just do it.
All right, pick up where you left off. You got this.
Yeah. So I don't know if you heard me introducing the game segment or not.
The which segment?
The game segment. You do this thing on my show where I play games with my guests.
Oh, really?
I usually give a hypothetical. Maybe your phone died before I jumped in on this.
I think the last thing I recall hearing you talk about was the coming out day. What was it called?
Right, the like asexual.
Yes, that.
Right, and I made an analogy about being like how ogres and onions have layers. A very good Shrek reference.
Yes.
You probably peeled off all my layers. There's probably no layers left. It's probably just the core of the onion.
And in the morning, I'm making waffles. Yes.
Yes.
Love me, Shrek.
Definitely a good donkey.
Yeah.
Cakes. Cakes have layers.
Cakes also have layers. They do. Cake is my favorite thing.
Like,
it's my birthday tomorrow, actually. I'm so excited.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. 23 seems like a big year. I'm like, I can't be doing stupid 20-year-old shit anymore. I'm like, I gotta like start thinking about like buying a house and like getting good credit and like doing adult things now. It's weird.
The last two things, maybe a house might be, maybe no. Maybe you can live in an apartment for a little while. Anyway.
Sorry, they just came running into the room. I just had to preface. That being said, what I just wanted to share really quick, if that's okay, is when I came out last year, so I may or may not have been doing recreational things, and I was under the influence, and I just saw this like beautiful man standing there with like green hair and like green eyeshadow, and I was like, "You are such a gorgeous human being. I want to talk to you." And then suffice to say, I ended up grabbing his social media. We started texting back and forth, and then the next morning, everything sort of wore off. And then I'm like, "Hey, I'm texting this guy. What does this mean? Oh my god, I kind of like it." So that was my coming out story, which was funny as hell. But I just started doing a lot more reading into it, and for me, I think what I settled on was there's this thing called demisexual, and that is like you feel sexual attraction to someone you have a deep emotional connection with, essentially. So my entire life hanging out with all of these, straight males, I had never had the understanding of like seeing a female and just like immediately wanting to fuck them. Like that was just never a thought in my head. I didn't understand other guys who had that thought. Like it just like it didn't make sense to me because I never saw human beings that way. Like I'm just like, you're a cool human being, you might be attractive, I might find you pretty, but like when I see you, the like I'm not like immediately thinking, oh, I want to have sex with you. Like that was just never a thought. Like I'm like I want to get to know you as a human, you know. So the more I started reading, the more I was like, oh, okay, this is what I am. And then that made so much more sense for every single relationship I've ever had. And this is why I've never had like a hoe phase where like I just like fuck as many people as I can. This is why like most relationships that I have are like 3-4 months long, and all this crazy stuff. So I just wanted to add that onto your story about like sort of finding out your specific sexuality with that as well. And I've also learned along the way there's a difference between romantic sexuality, your sexual preferences. There's a difference between the people that you would sleep with and the people you want a romantic partnership. And I suppose in your case as an asexual, I'm really unfamiliar, but I suppose that would sort of be like one and the same in essence if you're asexual, right?
Yeah, so asexual is just you. I guess you don't really have a sex drive, or at least in my case, it's that way.
Yeah.
Like I kind of the same way. I meet a person, I don't immediately want to fuck them. Like that's kind of how it is. But that's how it's always been. But now it's just like now I could never fuck them, because even if they were like looking like the most fine they could possibly look, they were barely wearing any, like, let's just say they came right out of the shower, no towel. I'm not immediately gonna be like, oh my god, I gotta bang them like right
That
now.
TikTok challenge wouldn't work on you, would it?
No, it would just be like, oh, I mean, you look, you're really wet right now, like in the sense that you just came out of the shower, like you're dripping everywhere on my fucking floor.
Yeah. You're ruining the hardwood, Miranda. God damn it.
I love that it was a Miranda you used instead of like
Yeah.
Miranda's such a Miranda's like a Karen. You don't want to name your kids that because
No one wants to
everyone
name their
might
kids
think of
Karen. No, well, we're off that. Yeah.
no Mirandas, no Karens. I don't know if there's any other bad names. Maybe like a Suzanne or something,
Mhm.
or Angela.
Angela. I've met some good Angelas in my life. I can't say
Okay,
that's a bad name.
okay, maybe not
Most
Angela.
Angelas I've met have been like they're pretty decent.
No, okay. I retract my Angela. That's for sure. Um, yeah, so that's asexual for, I guess, other people would just be they just don't want to have sex with people. Not that they may not feel sexually attracted to people, like they could bang them. They just choose not to bang.
Yeah,
In
well,
my
in the
case,
essence that everything is sort of like a spectrum, like I'm always like there's always variables, like I might not like my understanding of it anyway is like, oh, okay, like if I was asexual, I might not be attracted to a lot of people, but like maybe there's one person who comes along that I'm like, oh, well, maybe, like I feel like there's always like an exception or variable to the rule, and like that goes kind of into the further conversation of like where these labels and these boxes come from. Of like, I'm just like never be limiting, because I've always had to learn throughout my life that like any permanent rule that you try to make in your head, there's always an exception to. No matter what it is, regardless of whether it's mental health, your relationships, your work, your personal life, like any sort of like permanent rule you try to make, there's always like a variable or something that just happens that proves you wrong, and you're always like, oh, okay, like so.
yeah, no, I totally agree with that. And that's not to say that my asexuality will stay. Maybe it goes away after I get my bottom surgery done and all that. Maybe there'll be a certain sexiness that I'll start to feel that may change everything. I can't say. I just know I just think right for right now, my future is probably sexless, and I think like this has nothing to do with the fact that I still have like male genitalia or anything like that. It's literally just it's not an important thing in my life. I don't imagine myself doing that,
Mm.
no matter who comes along. But you're right. There's always exceptions to the rule, but my exception might not come around for I don't know, a long, long time, and I think that's okay because I have things I'm focusing on right now that don't require being sexually intimate with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
I also don't think I need to find a relationship of any kind right now because I'm finally at a point where I guess there's a bit of self love. I mean, obviously, I still have that dysphoria with my body, but like, I still love myself for once. Like, I'm finally happy being me. And I
Yeah, of
think
course.
that's a rare thing. A lot of people are still not at that point where they can say, I love myself. Yeah, they may still be in relationships, they may still love other people, but they still don't do the one thing that every human should do, which is love themselves.
Yeah,
And
I've had to go through that like so much over the last few years too, and especially last year through COVID. So this guy that I met and realized I was coming out, I started dating, and we dated for we met in February. We officially started dating, I think, in April, and then we dated through like April, May, June. And for me, especially after, as I said, I'm a demisexual person, so I try to develop like a strong emotional connection. And then over the course of time, my partner becomes more sexually attractive, more romantically attractive, more just attractive in general. The more invested I get in the relationship per se. So when things ended between me and him at the time, I was just like, okay, this was like a big change for me. This was the first guy I've ever dated. Rather than, jump into a new relationship, I'm going to take like 5 months to myself. And I'm just like not gonna date anyone. I'm not gonna sleep with anyone. Like I like some people I don't think realize that, like, especially going into relationships, like, people come into your life to traumatize you a little bit, like, and I mean that as lightly as I can. But people come into your life to traumatize you. So when you have like a really invested relationship, or a relationship that sort of goes sour or goes south, or ends, I've always found it's super important to take time after that relationship to focus on me and my growth. Like, okay, why did this relationship work out? Everyone always wants to, not necessarily, but like I find a lot of people always put blame on the partner, like this didn't work out. But it's like, for me, I'm like, no, okay, well, like, what habits, what behavioral patterns did I have in that relationship that weren't healthy for the person I was with? What behavioral patterns did they have that weren't healthy for me? And it sort of allows you to develop yourself a lot more, develop your own identity a lot more, and then actually know like what you want and what you don't want from the next relationship. And then now I'm dating the individual. My partner is non-binary, which is just it's a really cool experience because they are also very on the spectrum with their own identity. So it allows me to just feel totally comfortable being completely one way or the other with my own identity and my own sexuality as well. But I broke things off with the guy in the very beginning of June, like June 5th or something like that. And then I met them at the middle of August. We became friends for like a month and a half, and then after that time, it was like, oh, okay, well, like, we really enjoy each other, and like this is actually like a really good thing. Like, how about we take this a step further? And then now it's been like 5 or 6 months, which is the longest relationship I've had in the last 3 years. Amen. But like, now it's been like 5 or 6 months of like the best relationship I've ever had, which is really cool. Like, and for me, it's like, if I wouldn't have taken that time for myself to like sort of digest and been like, okay, who am I and what can I work on as a person, as an individual, without needing someone else in my life, that's going to allow me to love myself even more, right? Kind of like what you were saying, where like, most people get into relationships but forget the most important part. Like, yes, love as many people as you can, love the person that you're with, but more importantly, do you love yourself? In the great words of RuPaul, if you don't love yourself, how the hell you gonna love somebody else? Can I get an amen up in here?
I love so much. Well, and that's another thing that a lot of people always talk about. They're just like, how are pronouns so easily assigned to people? How can, especially with drag queens too, because you think, you know, when they're not in drag, they have their male pronouns. When they're in drag, it's their female. And people always, ask me that, like, are they trans? Are they non-binary? What's the start? And it's like, mama, they just fucking fabulous. They can do what they want, and that's the deal. There's no right or wrong answer to any of this. Really, it's just what you feel comfortable with. So if you feel comfortable one way at one time, you do that. You feel comfortable another way at another time, you also do that. People's expectations of you in their head is not your responsibility. You're only
Amen.
responsible for how you
Yes.
see yourself. So, like, don't focus on all these boxes that people put you in. Break those boxes, be who you are, and that's all you need to worry about. You mentioned earlier that you never really had a whole phase, and I was trying to hold it in. I was like, I had a whole phase in high school. I mean, not really like a sex whole phase, but like I moved through the grade 9 population in a very, very fast way. Oh, I'm sure I put a lot of trauma in their lives. And by trauma, I just mean that I was emotionally unavailable with all of them. But they were all into that somehow. So maybe it's a good thing.
Sorry, that's just such a funny phrase. That they were into the trauma. What can I say?
I mean, at that time, it was like they would look for people who were broken. They were like, oh, this broken boy is cute. I'm going to date this boy. Because that's how I identified at the time. And that was it, I remember a relationship starting because I invited a whole bunch of friends out to watch. Because my favorite show is like Doctor Who, and at the time, the movie theater here in the city, they were doing special screenings of like the season premiere or something. So I was like, because I worked there at the time, I was like, hey, we got all these passes, we're all going. And this one little girl, she's actually little, she was about the same age as me. We sat beside each other, and she's a big Doctor Who fan as well, and she started like feeling really sad about this one scene, and all of a sudden her head was just on my freaking shoulder, and I was just like, oh, what do I do? The only thing that felt right was literally like put my arm around her, and somehow it wasn't the wrong thing to do. And then from that, our relationship was born, and I don't even know how that happened. It was also a very bad relationship because we were literally just the most clingy people ever, codependent.
I've put my hand on someone's shoulder before, and then they've been like, "So are we in love now?" Or
literally how it was, and for months she was just like always there, after class or outside the door waiting for me. I was like, you literally have your own classes. We're literally grades apart. Like, what? Why are you here? Like, shouldn't you just be at your next class? Like, we can hang out later at lunch or whatever. Literally there. Like, if I'm breathing, she's breathing with me. Like, it was just the weirdest shit.
But what people have like, especially teenagers, have such a misconception about relationships. Like, you're not supposed to be enmeshed. Like, you have your own identity outside of the relationship. Like, you are your own person coming together in a partnership with someone else. You're on the same team, but like you're not like what they like. You don't have to like what their favorite color is. Doesn't need to be your favorite color. If you don't like tacos, you don't have to eat tacos just because it's their favorite food. Like that's sort of like enmeshment. And to be fair, like 100% disclaimer, I've gone through some fucked up shit in my life, just like everyone else. Everyone's got some trauma. I was raised by a super narcissistic and abusive dad, so like I have also had to develop this self-awareness to look at my own behavioral patterns and been like, oh shit, I've been the really toxic person in relationships before where I was super needy and I was really codependent and I just developed my identity around the relationship, and that was just as harmful for me as it was for the other person that I was with as well. And like I feel like we've had tons of conversations about this before, but like for me, my purpose of life is to grow as much as I can and be like, okay, well, first things first is grow my own identity, accept that identity, and develop that to the best of my abilities. More importantly, fix my own behavioral patterns so I'm not causing harm to other people who get close to me, who are romantic with me, who are part of my family, part of my friend group, etc., etc., etc. too, right?
Yeah, no. My apologies. My best wishes to all the young hearts that I broke.
Touche, touche.
I feel like the song "Young Hearts" by Commuter from that Karate Kid movie should be playing right now.
Young Hearts from Commuter?
We should all be nostalgic about those young hearts that I broke. Yeah, just because literally it was like in what I sometimes see as emotional unavailability is exactly as you put it. Is I was more just being what I should be in a relationship, and they wanted more. They definitely wanted the whole you move, I move. Your favorite color is my favorite color. We eat tacos because you eat tacos. Like that. That's how it was. I definitely had way too many of those. I would say dozen would be the right number.
And I think especially now, like of course there's always variables and stuff, but my partner asked me to do a paint night, and I love being creative with music, but I've never been much of like a drawer or an artist in that sense of like painting and stuff. So I just blatantly told them, I was like, I will do this because I love you, but I will not enjoy it. This will not be fun for me. I promise to keep my complaining to an absolute minimum, and I will be there because I love you and I support you. And if this is something you want to do together, then we can go to a paint night. But I will not enjoy myself, and I am prefacing that before this ever comes up, before you invite me to it, before it's the night of. I will not enjoy it, and it was kind of like one of those funny things where, like, obviously we turned it into a big joke, but for me, like, even just having that communication, like, I'm not gonna pretend to like something I don't like just because you really like this. I will love you and support you, and I will be there for you. And sometimes that does require the sacrifice of doing things you don't enjoy for other people. But I'm definitely not gonna like pretend to like it just because you do. Like, I'm my own independent person, and I'm not an arts and crafts person. I don't like painting. I adore looking at other people's art. Like, I'm very much like, I love other people's art. I just, like, I'm not that person. I cannot sit there with a pencil and draw a beetle. Like, I draw a stickman. That's what I do. Like, that's my idea of a good time. Like, so.
Yeah, no, that's definitely fair. When you said paint night, I definitely didn't think of like an actual night. I definitely think it was something else. I thought, like, yeah, my mind went for somewhere dark there for a second. Anyway,
There's
what
been
was I
this
gonna say now?
phenomenon coming up in not necessarily my circle of friends, but just people and acquaintances I know, where everyone is trying to
Yeah,
do this body paint stuff. I guess it's like a TikTok thing or something like that. But like, you get together, you get like super drunk with your friends, or you do other recreational stuff, and then you just sit there and paint each other's bodies and stuff. So
that's
it's been a
also
weird
not where I was
phenomenon that's
going
been
with it.
coming up. Like, I have two employees who've talked about it.
Right.
My partner has talked about it. Like, it's coming up, and I'm like, okay, sure, why not? Whatever helps you build the personal relationship, I guess.
Okay, fair enough. No, I'm I'd probably go to a paint night. Um, I mean, I like drawing. Obviously, being a fashion design student, I like some visual art, but I don't know. I can't say I'm a big painter either. But I might enjoy it a little more.
True.
Yeah. So
That being said,
I guess we've kind of really stretched this topic out. I think we've covered everything that we need to cover.
can I
I was going to
ask?
introduce my game segment. Sorry, did I cut you off?
I was just about to ask this, actually. I was like, you had my curiosity, and now you have my attention. Like, well, what is this game
Boom.
segment? Like, what game is played? I'm so curious.
Way to quote Leo DiCaprio.
Such an attractive man. It's not my fault. I have to quote him.
I understand. Yeah, there's like, while I definitely say that I'm a lesbian, there are specific actors in Hollywood that will just still do magical things to a person's mind.
Yep. I've been
And
crushing hard
Leonardo
on Ryan Reynolds
DiCaprio
long
happens to be
before I
one of
came
them.
out. So
Yeah, there's a few others. Gerard Butler is another.
ooh, that's definitely a daddy issues type of man. But like for sure, I see what you're saying.
This is something about the majesty of his thighs in the movie 300. The majesty,
Majesty.
you know.
That this is Sparta kick really just got me going. I don't know.
There was so much movement in that section of the leg alone. You thought it was jiggly, but it was literally just things just pumping underneath, and that's muscle. That's like pure muscle. And you're just like, how did he get that? And then you start imagining.
I don't know why, but I just got a visual image of you like slowing down that kick to like slow motion and just watching it as like the muscles ripple through the kick.
It was literally like a gun going off, like the cocking action. You know, the bullets coming out of the gun and the shells out the side, and then the top it just slides back and forth. That was his leg.
Oh my god.
You know?
Did you just compare a bullet being shot from a gun as sexy as someone's leg? Is that what you're finding attractive right now?
Yes, but like when I say attractive, I don't necessarily mean. I mean, maybe. I don't know. I probably don't want to have sex with Gerard Butler, but I definitely want to like give him a long hug for like 30 minutes and like hold his arm in my hand. Also,
if he would kick me in the
dance.
chest like that, I think I would just move to a whole different dimension. Like I would just go through time and space itself, honestly.
Yeah, and then his bedroom dance from the movie P.S. I Love You. Like that alone.
Yeah.
Like his core was just rolling, and it was just okay.
The corny romance movies just get me, especially when Gerard Butler is in them.
Yeah, he's been in a lot of them for sure.
Oh my god! So what's up with this game? What is this game? I'm curious now.
So my game segment, we do different games in it. Sometimes it's a hypothetical. I give you like a hypothetical situation. I tell you all the different terms or details of that hypothetical, and you just tell me whether you go for it or you don't go for it. Sometimes we do, trying to think of how I word that. It's like a truth or drink type of thing, because obviously we're drinking things. So, I either ask you a question that you either come out and you're just like completely honest about, or you chug your drink and we know that it's too awkward of a topic. Or the last game, which what I was thinking of doing tonight, is the game Catchphrase, which I don't know if you've ever played. It's basically someone's got a word on a card, and they try to describe that word without telling the word or getting too specific about what the word is exactly, or using it in a sentence or anything like that.
I see what you're getting at. Okay, interesting.
And the words that I'd be giving are more adult, so it's not the kids' catchphrase game that you might be used to. It's definitely like an 18+ situation.
The kitty gloves are coming off.
Oh, kitty gloves, kitty pants, kitty shoes, kitty bras, they're all coming off.
Taken out of context, that is a terrible phrase, just so we're clear.
Yes. My point exactly. This is definitely a game that can be taken out of context very quickly.
All right, let's do it. I'm excited.
All right, so we're gonna do this. I actually bought all the expansion packs for this game because I love playing this one.
Okay.
Super fun. So we're gonna play here. Oh, here we go. All right, so let's get ready. Okay. This word.
This is when someone tries to say something to try to be better than the other person. Their thing they say is better than the person, what they said, and they try to do this to be this kind of person. They try to this you. What do you think?
Oh God, my mind is blanking right now. Oh Jesus Christ. They try to diss the other person, like make themselves better.
Kind of, but like they use like I guess a good way to put it is also in the Mario game, he sometimes gets this specific power that allows him to have an extra life. It has a number in it and a direction.
Oh, that's a terrible reference. I never played Super Mario growing up.
Oh, damn. Okay. That's the wrong direction. So let's go back to the thing about someone trying to be better than someone else.
Is it Power Trip?
Like, not quite. But you're really warm right now. So, a better way to put this. So, okay, let's say it was two people who had, I don't know, they both like the same person, so they tell stories about how actually give hints with your hands.
Oh! Is it 1-up?
Yes.
Nice. Okay. I see what you're saying. Now I get the Super Mario reference.
Okay. I love how the noise for this game sounds like Super Mario 2. All right. The next word is actually a person.
A person. Okay.
He was the lead actor in the movie La La Land, The Notebook.
Oh, fuck. What's his name? Oh, Jesus. Ryan Gosling? Yeah, okay. I was like, he's one of the Ryans. He's not Reynolds, that's for sure, but like he's one of the Ryans.
Sometimes, sometimes they call, the vagina this thing. Sometimes you could also call this fruit. Oh, I can't say that word. In the Bible, Eve ate this thing, and it pissed God off.
Are you talking about an apple or a peach?
Well, it is that thing, but
a fruit.
It was, yes, but what type of that thing? What did God say about it that you couldn't do? It was.
Eat. Sorry, it's a phrase. Is it eat the peach, or eat the apple?
It's kind of a phrase. You said the one word already. It's just there's another word before it. It's the type of. I can't even use the word, even if you used it. We'll just pass that one. It was forbidden fruit.
Oh. If you would have given me like 2 more guesses, I probably would have figured that out.
Alright. So in the wintertime, you put these on your hands to stay warm.
Gloves, mitts, hand warmers.
You said mitts.
I've done door to door 4 winters in a row. Like I know.
If you put your finger in a light socket when the light's on, you get this.
Shocked or electrocuted.
There we go. And another name for Yeezy.
Yay?
I was going to say, like, his actual name.
Oh, Kanye? Kanye West?
Kanye West, yeah.
I was like, I love Kanye, but, like, poor guy. He's going through a lot, but, like, I love him. I love Kanye so much because I don't see celebrities as gods. Like, I just think of Kanye as, like, a regular-ass human being like you and me. So the fact that he has such, like, a gigantic ego is just hilarious to me. Like I'm just like, oh, that's cute, but like it's so funny. What like happens? He's an entertaining individual.
For sure. Yeah, I'm a big fan of his too. I don't know if I agree with all of his beliefs, and I don't know how to feel about his divorce from Kim Kardashian.
I actually like I know nothing about that, simply for the fact is I'm like kind of going a little bit further with the whole they're not gods people. Like I hate getting involved in celebrities' personal lives. Like I just think it's ridiculous. Like if this was your next door neighbor, would you care? No, but because they're celebrities, we're somehow supposed to. And like, yes, Kanye, I think is one of the greatest producers of our time. I think he makes phenomenal music. I think he's had a lot of mental health stuff over the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years, etc. But like, do I care about him and Kim getting divorced? Like not really. Like it's none of my business. Like I don't care about that at all.
I just think that maybe the marriage was probably something that was done for publicity. Like I didn't see the attraction from the beginning, so that kind of may have had an effect on what I felt about them being divorced. Like it's almost a nothingness,
Yeah,
which
of
I guess
course.
goes to that apathy that kind of you don't really care, even though they are celebrities. But I don't know. I definitely agree though about his music because you know, an underrated album of his is one he did with Kid Cudi. I think the album was
Kids
called
See
Kids See
Ghosts.
Ghosts.
Yes, I love that album.
Oh, so much bangers on that album. Can't even describe how great. And then most of Chance the Rapper's music, obviously being self-produced, but the later stuff, Kanye had like a lot of influence, a lot of, um, you know, and obviously I love Chance too because to me music should be free. You shouldn't actually have to sell it. I feel like if people like it enough, you can still make money off of it without like making your fans broke over getting your music. And
Yeah,
that kind of humanitarianism, it's rare with celebrities. Like they're so self-absorbed. They're so into that capitalist mindset. That they don't really care about their fans in that respect. And I don't know. Yeah, and I think my love for music, I think it evolved from our car rides, like on our way to neighborhoods, to go door to door.
hey.
I definitely tasted new artists from your love, like from your playlists, and then since then I've just been like, ooh, this is a good artist. Let's hear more of this stuff. Just because I have one saved song because I heard that in Theo's car. What other stuff does this person do? Like I gotta hear it, and from that I just spent days on Spotify, and that was my 2020. Just checking out new music.
Me too. I've done that a lot over the last year. I got really into EDM last March. So I currently have an EDM playlist. I have a hip hop / contemporary playlist, and then I have like some super sad shit playlist, for when I'm depressed. But I got really into EDM, and the first music festival / rave that I went to, I got to see Rez live, and Rez is probably like one of the most, I would say one of the most amazing female DJs there is. So I take a lot of pride in that. I'm like, yeah, I got to see her live for my first one, and I got really into her music. And the one thing I really appreciate about her is she's very, very involved with her fans. She has like her own Facebook group where she like it's called the Cult of Rez, but she like interacts with people on the page like all of the time on her Twitter, on her Instagram. Like she's very involved, which is just, especially as a musical person, and like as I mentioned earlier, I'm like working on an album and stuff right now. It's very inspiring, and that's one thing that I don't want to lose touch of. If my music by random happen chance manages to take off, is I always want to be that, like, that personal with my fan base, and with my core of people who just love and support my music, like people love you for you, you know. Like I don't want to have that distance. Billie Eilish is another great example of that. Like she's very involved with her fan base, and it's just really cool to see. I have so much respect for her because you know she's like what 18, 19 now, 18 I think, and just like so much
Yeah,
musical talent, but equally just so down to earth and humble.
yeah, I know. I feel like you should have. Well, I mean, obviously you couldn't, but like I should have had my previous guest on while we were talking, because my previous guest was obviously the pop artist Valores here, and she's obviously one of my friends from high school,
Mm-hmm.
and she could tell you how to get started with your album and where to go for production and recording, things like that. Um, she has, um, I think she released her singles like just as singles. She doesn't have like an album yet, but all of her singles have music videos, and they're all professionally done. Um, and like I said, I think she's up for like a few different awards. I don't know what the name of the awards are. I know they're specifically New Artist Awards. I think she was talking about the Junos on a different interview with some other big. Uh, I think it was like CBC or something. She did an interview with, and I think the Junos did come up or something. But I don't know whether or not she's up for a Juno Award, nominated at least. But you know, she's doing exceptionally well, you know, for a young artist. And I think, um, yeah, definitely. I mean, we didn't talk about her sort of process. We just kind of chatted like we're doing. So
No,
I
that's
don't
really
know.
cool.
Well, she wants to come on again, so
If you could do me a really huge favor and just like I love following artists on their social media. If you can even
yeah,
like send me links to like her Spotify and stuff like that, like I'll definitely follow her.
1,000%.
As we were just talking about, like I've just tried to expose myself to as much new music as I can over the last year. Like I got really into Hosier and Dominic Fike and Mac Miller. Um, there's a couple other people that I'm forgetting the names of at the moment, but yeah, I've just been trying to expose myself to as much new music as I can. I think it's really important to inspire yourself that way, and if you're listening to the same stuff all the time, it can be really great for your own mindset, for instance. So like music has a certain way of putting you in an emotional state, so like successful emotional state, or like a winning emotional state, or a sad emotional state, or something like that too. But yeah, that being said, B, I do have to go right away. My employees are texting me being like, yo, you got to come hang out with us.
No, that's no problem. We had our chat. We played our game. Yeah, I absolutely love talking with you, and I know we could talk forever. But yeah, we'll cut things off here. Yeah, just for the whole show, and I guess just to let you know before you close everything out, when we stop the recording, it's going to um, or when you leave this chat, it's gonna like tell you to leave it open just so it can upload your half of the conversation.
Oh yeah, yeah,
That's
that
how
makes
this
sense.
thing does. It doesn't do it like a Zoom call where everything's recorded at once. It allows both halves to record separately, so you can edit both halves later, and then you can tweak things, and then it can be sound professional afterwards when
Oh,
you
that
put it
sounds
back
awesome. Yeah.
together.
So just don't close
So
the window. Just sort of leave it where it's at.
yeah, leave it where it's at.
Perfect. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Queen. I appreciate it. Hopefully, sometime soon we can also do this again. It's just like it's been so long since we like actually sat and like chatted. So this was just a great experience, and I thank you for having me as a guest. And we shall chat with you soon. And thank you to the listeners as well. I appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. Now that you put that in, I was gonna cut that last part out for the explaining the stuff to you, but I guess it doesn't hurt the listeners know our process too. Know that we're human too, and we have our bits.
No,
So
definitely
yeah,
not human. I'm completely alien. I'm not from
yeah,
this
no,
world.
except for Theo. Theo is
I am a rainbow
Theo's
shitting
exception.
unicorn, and you will address me as such.
1,000%.
I love it. Okay, well, I gotta go now, but thank you so
All
much,
right,
B, and I will chat with you soon. Okay. Sounds good. Das Vidania, au revoir.